There we are. Always like to kind of hang on for a minute and see. It looks like one person's in here, unless that's me. I don't think that's me. I don't think it counts me as the one person. Oh, now there's four. Yay. So usually try to come on right at 10:50 or 10:50 my time, Pacific Standard. Because, we're pretty much at the tip of Washington State. We're not Nia Bay is at the tip, but we're a little farther down. So that little tip, where there's Cape Flattery that overlooks the whole ocean out there. Anyway, so I like to come on 10 minutes early for anyone who's new to my live shows or watching us in replay. Just to give people time to get notifications, come in, get our greetings out of the way, any announcements I want to make, etc. before I get into the topic. So it's kind of a fun time because it's just more laid back. We get to interact with each other and it's not just, me talking to a camera, just a camera by myself. There I know there's live people behind the camera, so it's a different kind of atmosphere and I enjoy it. So Deb says I'll be on if I'm back in time. We're headed to the neighbors. Oh, if not, I'll watch later. Sorry about missing. No worries, Deb. But they need us. You know what? You do what you need to do. I need you too, but I'm sure they need you more. So I appreciate it. And thank you. Thank you for letting me know. So there's T. Hi, T. I keep meaning to ask you how you're doing. It's been a long time since we've talked at all. So I hope you're doing well. Long time follower. You are the old school followers from the moment I started my channel. And I appreciate that. Really, really do. Boy, that was sometimes it seems like it was just a short time ago, and other times it feels like it was an eternity ago. I mean, that was back when we had the Homesteading Network and my channel, and let's see, Big Family Homestead and Big Bear Homestead and Danny and Wanda Deep South Homestead and an American Homestead. I mean, that was kind of a neat thing. It wasn't working out good for me because of my poor internet, and then the timing just got to be more difficult. That was back before grandbabies, but man, the internet just was making it so hard. And then when I started getting skirt orders coming in like crazy and I was trying to keep up on those, I couldn't keep doing it. So I had to just kind of do my own live show, and even that was a problem. So I don't know. I don't remember how many of my own that I did where I was able to schedule my own time like I do now. But at any rate, let's see. You love your channel. I will have to watch this later. No problem. Just got home from work and caught the last of it. So, and T says, I've enjoyed watching you all these years. Thank you, T. I really appreciate that. Well, hopefully it's not too small of a group today, but that's okay. There's always the playback. It is just nice to have people to directly interact with during the show and have a moderator too but we haven't had any issues with, you know, haters coming in and being jerks. So that's what one of the reasons for the moderators is to, hammer the wrench down on people that are being naughty in the chat, but also to post links since they make it so, oh, well, Tyler's here. Good. To share links, if I mention a video on the fly, like Deb usually runs and finds a link to it and posts it in the chat because not only moderators and myself can post links in the chat, which is kind of nice. I actually have my comment section under all the videos set up that way too, because you just never know what kind of links people will be posting, and they could be spam, they could be stuff that people shouldn't be clicking on. So I always prevent that, but it goes into held for review, and then it gives me a chance to approve it if it looks like it's safe. So Tammy says, hello from Northwest Florida. Tyler, we're all crazy, but some elevate it to the Olympic event, right? Hi, Hollyhock. Okay, so we got a few more minutes before I get into the topic. So hopefully I have enough time to kind of share about the chicks. So no chicks in here today, no grandbabies, no chicks, and Patrick's somewhere. So it should be relatively quiet today, except for when my phone decides to spout off. Oh, anyway, the chicks are the last batch of chicks are now integrated with the first batch of chicks. I was really nervous about that. I did that a couple days ago because to me they still seem so little, but they're 3 weeks apart, and I first time trying it this way, and I don't really have another option or the space to have them in a whole bunch of different little coops out there. Went well. It went really well. I've seen no problems. They're doing pretty good. I noticed the first night, I don't know about last night, but the first night, the youngest ones all huddled on one side of the little mini coop, not a car, the mini coop inside the big coop, while the older ones huddled on the other side. But when I checked on them, I didn't check on them last night because Patrick shut them all in and I was falling asleep on the couch. I was exhausted because I had 4 grandbabies yesterday, and one of them, the youngest one, screamed for an hour straight. Didn't matter what I did. I finally was able to sit in the rocking chair with her and get her to go to sleep. But anyway, it's just exhausting. So Patrick shut him in, but when I went out this morning because I have like a special enclosure to put them in outside so they can have some time outside, that I also kind of built my own little shelter for when it's raining, like it's been doing the last couple days. They can all get under there and stay dry, but still be outside. Well, it looked like they were all mingled together, but some were still kind of sleeping a little bit or laying there, but I don't know if they huddled all together last night or not. So hopefully still be awake so I can go check on them. Yeah, 3 weeks. It's amazing how it can be such a big size difference in that. And then putting those little tiny chicks in that bigger, in the enclosure that's outside. Well, of course, that's the biggest area. So they went from this little box in here to the big outside enclosure first before going into the coop, the mini coop for the night. And I mean, they look so tiny in there. But yeah, they all seem to be doing pretty good. So that was exciting to see that work out because I was very nervous about that. I just wasn't sure, but it was kind of cute because one of the ones I suspect out of the first hatching to be a hen, she's the really light colored one that has a few black spots. I'm saying she, but I feel pretty certain. At first I thought maybe it was a male because it had feathers going down the legs, but I knew that wasn't a for sure sign. Well, she's acting and looking more like a female. There's 3 of them that I'm sure are males and then 2 that I'm sure are females. But anyway, the younger chicks went and kind of huddled up next to the 2 females, or the ones I at least suspect to be females. And which made me feel even more certain they're probably females. And it was the ones I suspect to be males that were kind of doing this number, but not being mean to them. So that was cool. So it looks like it's working out just great, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled with it. So I know if I need to do it that way again, I'm not going to worry about it. In fact, I'll probably integrate them together even sooner. So they're not, there's not such a big difference. Well, I said the other ones are 3 weeks old. The first ones are 5 weeks old, and the younger ones are, maybe I just said they're 3 weeks apart because they're 3 weeks apart. So I have 5-week-old ones and 2-week-old ones. Anyway, so just about time to start build a shelter like that for the grands. You know what I did? Because Patrick's so busy. I always have so many jobs for him to do. And so I try to pick the most important thing. And finally, I just decided on doing this one myself because I was hoping he could build a little mini shelter, something, because he'll do a better job, a fancier job inside the enclosure for the chicks. That enclosure gets used for all of them once everybody's fully integrated. So I would like the shelter to be good for whichever size chick. And I finally just said, I'm just gonna, because I had this throw together, just garbage piled together, basically shelter that was only probably about this tall from the bottom of the roof and then the ground. So just not very big, just enough for some. So the adult ones could get under there, and they would on really rainy days. Not that they don't have other areas, but and then I had those sitting, the roof sitting on buckets, and then I had the roof material weighted down with bricks and whatever I could find to keep the wind from picking them up and carrying them away. Well, what I did was I bought a 6 foot wide folding plastic table with metal legs, and and then bought so it's going to be taller, right? And then bought a nice kind of olive green, really dark green tarp that wasn't too huge, that I could have it go over the sides and the back to make sure that, no water runs in from there, but still have it open in the front so they can in and out. I could get to them easy if I need to, and they could still get plenty of fresh air in there. And then what I did was I took some of my planters that I'm using to grow lettuces and put them on top of the tarp, so that will keep that weighted down, as well as give me another place to grow some lettuces and stuff. And it's working really good. It is so much better than what I had, and it looks nicer. Might not be as fancy as something Patrick would build if he ever had the time, but it's working great. I'm happy. I'm happy. So we'll just see how long that table holds up like that. Actually, the tarp will probably wear out first, but since it shouldn't get blown around too bad considering where it's at, I think it'll probably last for a while before I'd have to replace the tarp. And maybe by then, Patrick will have time to build something a little more solid. So anyway, we're going to get into the topic. I'm a couple minutes late now because I talked too long on that. So, or 1 minute at least. So hello, everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today, even though I was going to talk more about another 3, I already got notes for that, another 3 foods I put up and why. I decided to switch it up today because some comments that were made recently. And so I came up with these 3 silly reasons some people refuse to prepare. But the interesting thing about this is, at least one of these reasons, there's people that do prepare that won't do certain things. I'm not going to say it's necessarily silly though, but for the ones that just refuse to prepare, it is silly. So number 1 is, first let me get my glasses on. What did I write here? My terrible handwriting. Even printing is terrible. That half time I can't read it myself. Okay. The worst case scenario. So the one thing about focusing on a worst case scenario is that for some people, it's the catalyst that gets them into preparedness. And then along the way, I would say that was a little bit of why we got more into preparedness, but some of it was just everyday life things that would happen that made us think, boy, it'd be a good idea for this, that, and the other thing. But for a lot of people that have not yet got on the preparedness bandwagon, they just look at worst case scenarios and think that, well, what's the point? So they make this really terrible assumption that the reason most people prepare or put up food storage, do any of that kind of stuff, is for some massive worldwide event, and we're all going to die. And so then their point is, well, what is the point? If we're all going to die anyway, why bother? And I'm not going to say that's necessarily silly, but it's silly in the fact that they can't see beyond that. And that, first of all, not every big, massive, worst case scenario events means everybody's going to die either. So why not be as prepared as possible? I'm never going to be the kind of person that says you can be absolutely 100% prepared for anything and everything. You can't, because you don't know exactly what's going to happen in your life, whether it be the minor things or the much bigger things, or those things that fall right in the middle. A death in the family, especially of a spouse, that can really just totally turn over somebody's whole world. And how prepared are you to be able to deal with, the loss of the income or the physical support you might get? So there's a lot of things that people just don't even consider that happen to people every single day all around the world, that hit us on a personal level. And I know that my longtime followers have heard me talk about this many times, but I feel like it can't be said enough, because too many people just cannot see beyond that. Well, it's just worst case scenario, all going to die anyway. And that's just silly. It's silly in the sense that there is always something you can do, for one. And number two, there's far more things that do hit everybody every day of different degrees, that just being prepared can save you a lot of stress. So even something as simple as unexpected guests show up for dinner, having food storage is a lifesaver. Maybe not life-saving, but it's definitely a stress saver. When you're like, "I don't know what to do. I don't have enough," because some people who just buy groceries from day to day, or even want week by week, and don't plan to have at least enough stuff where they can make meals for a week, a month, 2 months, a year. And those things just really can save a lot of stress, but also in the event of your town turns into an island for whatever reason. And no, it doesn't have to be a worldwide worst case scenario. It can be as simple as a blizzard, and you living in a small town, that there's only two ways in. And that blizzard or that massive storm that washed out the road from either side means the trucks can't get in to restock your store. And the store shelves are going to be emptied within 24 hours or less, probably 2 or 3 hours. Tyler would probably know better. I can't remember what it is, because I know, if I remember correctly, most of your grocery stores now only have enough stock to take care of your town, or your part of town if you live in a bigger city, for 3 days on just a normal day-to-day level. But when some kind of crisis happens, the shelves get wiped out within a few hours. So Tyler says reasons to prepare may not die right away. Right. My witness may go farther if I'm bringing food rather than begging food. Exactly. Normal grocery store inventory is under 3 days. But do you know the standard time frame that the shelves would be cleared out in a crisis? Because I know that goes down to just at least a few hours. Because then everybody's freaking out. Everybody stampedes to the store, zombie walks or whatever it is that they do, and then buys up everything that they can put in their cart. All the water, all the toilet paper, all the bread, all the milk. Those are usually the things that will go first, and also depending on what kind of catastrophe it is. So disaster shopping, empty shelves in 8 hours. Okay. Thanks, Tyler. So yeah. Uh and that could be like, I remember years ago when it was like a big, massive chemical spill. This was over on the east side of the United States. I cannot even remember what state it was in. There was some big chemical spill that contaminated all of the city's water. And so nobody could drink the water or use it for anything. So within hours, all the stores around were wiped out of all drinkable products, especially any bottled water. It was just, whoop, it was gone. So, and that's the kind of reality many people face. It might not happen in the same place twice within 5, 10, 50 years, but it could happen down the road to somebody else. it's like, what's wrong with being prepared for such an event? Or around here, it's gonna more often, when it comes to city water, it's likely a main break that then means they got to shut off the water for however long it's going to take for them to fix that main break. That means you are without water. That happened to us a couple of times here. And I know at least one of those times we had our rainwater. So we were great. We had plenty of drinkable water, all filtered and ready to go because I always keep 30 gallons of rainwater that's been filtered, ready to go. And then I cycle through it every single day, plus the over 2,000 gallons of rainwater that's already collected that I can filter or use for other things, watering the garden and such. So anyway, so that's the first one, but I'm not quite done with the first one. Let me see if I had something else I was going to say here. Okay. Okay, yes, there's the point. Here's the part where it applies to people that already prepare, which was what made me think to put this list together. Well, what was it? It was a video that came out. Oh, it was me doing one of those AI, review videos and basically, covering some of the points that they covered about bartering. Like, how, what was it? 12 hidden things that, preppers put up for barter, whatever it was called. And there was a couple people that said they're afraid to barter or they won't barter or whatever because everybody will turn into zombies and you can't trust anyone and people will just kill you for what you have. Well, while I understand the fear, okay, I understand the fear of letting people know. I remember when we first really started getting into this, I was kind of afraid about letting too many people. Well, it was a struggle. I wanted people to know because I was hoping to kind of encourage people to get on board and start taking care of themselves and their families the same way. But on the other hand, yes, I was afraid about people knowing what we do because this will be the first place they come to when, everything blows up or whatever, or that, that earthquake that's, overdue to hit us. Whatever it is. Well, there's actually quite a few people around here. I'm finding more and more that have either gotten on board with the same thing since we have or already were. There's a lot more like-minded people around here than I initially thought. So there's that. But also, that's assuming that your need for bartering is going to be a worst case scenario like that. Maybe it's not. So practicing bartering now, you can do it now and just to use it to save money or to be able to put up more things for yourself. We've done bartering for years. Even when I was still teaching dance class, I was bartering with a parent where I was teaching her daughter's daughter dance in exchange for a few things. Every now and then she'd say, "Hey, I've got this," or, "Hey, I'm going to town and I'm going to be grabbing some organic this, that, and the other thing. Would you like some?" And I'll, and we'd do stuff like that. She'd run to town. That's where my purple tomato seed came from initially, because I had her pick up a thing of organic heirloom tomatoes, and the purple one out of there was my favorite. So I saved the seeds, and gosh, a very minimum of 12 years ago. And I've been saving the seeds from those every year and growing them every year since. So then there was another lady that had like 3 of her daughters in dance. And at the time I had no chickens and she had goats and chickens. And so we were doing exchange with the dance for her raw goat milk and the eggs. So yes, it's something we've been practicing for a long time, and it can be just a real, it can save you time and money. But again, barter is about finding, what the value is to them and to you. It's all going to depend. And learning how to work that. So the reason I use the picture in the thumbnail I have of the herbs in the jars was because that year I put up a bunch of extra after I put up what I knew I needed for the year. Plus, I usually like to have enough of my herbs, whether they be medicinal or culinary. Well, culinary is both medicinal and culinary, but you know what I mean. Put up for at least a couple of years in case something happens to any of the herbs I grow. But the that year I decided to put up a few extra jars of some of the things I had a lot still coming in case I wanted to use them to barter for something, like maybe some fresh caught fish, whether it be halibut or cod or salmon or steelhead or trout for that matter, or anything else. Same thing with the winemaking. That's one of the reasons why I make the wine is so I can have something to barter with. But of course, I have uses for it as well. Marinating, making homemade extracts, and um, so much more. So anyway, yes, I think everybody should be bartering and not be afraid of it because we shouldn't be looking at it as, well, I'm not going to do that because in a worst case scenario, they're going to kill me for my stuff. I think I understand the fear, but that's that kind of fear we shouldn't be living in. And it's much better to practice that. Because here's the thing, during the Depression, and this is another one of those AI videos I have coming out, AI, not me making an AI video for anyone who's new, but where I found one of those, something bartering items, Depression bartering items, whatever. And so I did a review on that. And people during the Depression bartered for stuff because it was what they could do, because money was tight, but they had skills or they had things that they could grow that this person couldn't, or whatever the case may be. And so they bartered. Someone who could mend a dress or a pair of pants and do that in exchange for some vegetables that this person was growing. So yes, there's a lot of things that you can use bartering for right now. It does not have to be a worst case scenario. So I think people just need to start learning to practice and not be afraid of this stuff. Okay, so that was all excuse number one. The next two will probably go much faster. And number two is the silly excuses that people use to not prepare, just to clarify, is it will never happen here. Right? It'll never happen here. First, they might say it'll never happen. And then you say, well, it happened over there. Oh, but it'll never happen here. How are you so sure about that? Tornadoes don't happen here. And as far as I know, never have. But I wouldn't say it never will. However, we do have other natural disasters that can and have happened here. It's just like the earthquake they keep trying to scare us to death about that will happen at some point, or the tsunamis, right? Because of where we live. And, in fact, our beaches, tsunami warnings, they got signs everywhere, signs about beach logs can kill. That one always cracks me up. Beach logs can kill. There's a picture, one of those like silhouette kind of pictures, of a stick figure type guy running from a log that's being thrown by, the waves. I don't know why it cracks me up because that would be bad, but it still makes me laugh when I see that. I have yet to hear about it happening around here. Maybe it has, but but at any rate, it's finding that balance of not living in fear of everything, for crying out loud, but also not assuming that it can never happen to you, never happen in your area, or never happen at all. And it's a very poor excuse. And I think for a lot of people, they like to use excuses like that because they simply don't want to do it. I think it's either too much work or it feels too, what's the word I'm looking for? I hate it when it's a word I use a lot and it still goes like out of my brain. Too daunting, and people don't know where to start. And so it's like, well, it's never going to happen here, so I'm not going to worry about it. Or we're all going to die anyway, so I don't want. I'm not going to worry about it. I want to focus on the fun things, like trips to here and going down and getting wasting my money on a latte 3 to 4 times a day, or going out to eat every day. I'd rather focus on that stuff, throwing my money away. I'm being a smart aleck because that's the way I am. Uh, the good impression stick guy. That's a picture, except he's not smiling. In fact, I don't think I have faces anyway, so it doesn't matter. Okay. Third reason. I've done a video just on this, that some people didn't even bother to watch. They just got all bent out of shape because of the title. So I finally changed the title so people would actually watch it instead of assuming to know what it was about. And it was about, and this is one that comes from Christians, especially Christians that believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. Well, it doesn't matter. We're all going to be raptured out of here anyway. I don't have to prepare for anything. So in other words, the rapture is going to save us. So I don't have to prepare for the everyday events like power outages, the death of a loved one, a job loss, turning into an island because of a blizzard, et cetera, because the rapture is going to save me from any of those events. Hello? That's just silly. It doesn't matter if you believe pre-trib, no rapture, whatever it is you believe. Pre-trib, post-trib, mid-trib, never. It doesn't matter. There are real events that affect people all the time and have all throughout history. Did the rapture save the people on the Titanic? Did the rapture save all the people during all these different wars or during the Holocaust? No. Life happens, and you can't assume just because you're a believer that you're never going to have to face hardships. Those disciples, Jesus' disciples, faced all kinds of hardships. Remember, what wasn't like 11 of them were martyred? Or, 10 of them? 11? Whatever. Lots of hardship. Rapture didn't save them from those hardships. So it's a silly excuse. And I'm pretty sure anyone watching me right now knows better than that. But I always put that out there for two reasons. One, maybe this is just another point you can remember to bring up to your friends that want to use these excuses. And two, maybe there'll be somebody who's been using these excuses for years that happens to stumble upon either this live show or the edited video I create from this. Life happens to everyone. There's good times, there's bad times. It's never always all the way up here and smooth sailing all through life. And so being prepared is not crazy. There are sects of people within preparedness that go into crazy mode. Okay. You can take some things a little too far, and then you start in and up down a whole bunch of conspiracy theory rabbit trails. Yes, some conspiracy theories are facts, not just theories, but a lot of them are theories, and a lot of them are just plain lies and crazy talk. Okay, I know this, all right, before people start jumping down my throat and saying, "Rah, rah, rah," because every time I bring that up, somebody gets mad. Believe me, I know this. I've been there, done that. I was one of those that started going deep down the conspiracy theory rabbit trail until I finally started seeing that not everything is a theory that's going to be proven true within 6 months. A lot of things are just lies, things taken out of context, or people trying to put out content to get your clicks so they can make money. And there's a lot of them still going on today. And yes, there's some out there right now that I'm still like, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not, but I don't have time for that nonsense. I have far more blah. I have far more important things in my life to focus on than whether or not I'm not even going to bring any of them up. Whether or not this is true or that is true or whatever. Okay? And if I don't have any way of proving something one way or the other, and it's something that's not going to affect me directly, that or it's not something that I can actually do anything about to change that outcome on me, then I'm going to not worry about it. I'm going to put my time and attention into the positive things or the things I need to focus on to keep us doing what we're doing here, to keep taking care of my husband, my chickens, my home, my garden, my grandkids, etc. Because that's far important. And of course, number one, first and foremost, my relationship with my Heavenly Father and my Lord Jesus Christ. Top, most important. And then everything else falls under that. So those are far more positive things to focus on and not spend my life so stressed out and angry like I was back then when I found myself for that. It was about a year to 18-month period of time where I was constantly in a state of stress and scared and having nightmares all the time. That's not a good place to be. It is not a good place to be. And living like that is going to take you to an early grave. So, anyway, I kind of got off on a different tangent there, but that's another one of those things that you really just can't say enough because a lot of this stuff goes both ways to the people that do prepare and the people that don't. There's a balance there. And you got to find that balance that suits you, your family, what you're doing with your life, what you're able to do. And, sometimes pocketbook, how much money you got to spend right away does matter. But this is where learning how to be frugal and bartering can really help. So, anyway, I think that was it for that topic. And I have time that we can just chat about whatever. I don't know that I had. Hi, Linda. I did actually see that you made it in here. So, buying bulk saves a lot of money. Yeah, it saves a lot of money and it also saves it saves time and stress, you know? It's like I brought this, I've said this before, but one of the reasons I started thinking more and more there, I remember the two main things that I started stocking up on, especially if they would go on sale, because I'd go through so much of them, were pureed canned tomatoes, not tomato sauce, the crushed canned tomatoes, because I could use those in so many different ways for making salsas and my Italian sauces and so chilies and so on and so forth. So obviously it's before I started growing tomatoes and flour for all the various different breads and cookies and cakes and blah blah blah. Obviously. And finding that, wow, I can buy this in bulk and then I can have it and I'm not always having to run to the store. Especially like the tomatoes, because I'm like, man, I'm in the mood for making this. Oh, I need canned tomatoes. I'm out or I don't have any. Shoot, I have to run to the store. So every time they would have the big can of the crushed canned tomatoes, I would, yeah, or every time they'd have it on sale, excuse me, I would be down there stocking up on those things and fill my pantry full of tomatoes. So every time I had a hankering to make a lasagna or a homemade ravioli or spaghetti or some chili or whatever, I had the tomatoes and I didn't have to run to the store to get them. That was an important thing to me. So that was one of the reasons why I was like, man, having some extra staples, the things I go through most is really nice, especially when I can buy, like back in the day, I was buying from Glory Bee. I could get flours and grains and, all kinds of stuff, just like as your standard in bulk. Because back then we had a co-op for Glory Bee and we could order that through a lady in town and we'd get this stuff in bulk, your sugars, your salt, all this stuff, and really save money. But that eventually fell by the wayside. I don't know if Glory Bee just stopped doing that or if the lady in town stopped doing that. But then it was trying to get Azure Standard to be willing to set up a drop point here. And thankfully, what has it been, about a year now? It's been so great. It's been so great. In fact, I got to go pick up my order for this month tomorrow. It's been great. It's made life so much easier. I hardly ever purchase from Misfits Market, and I almost never need to buy anything from our local grocery store other than bananas. Hi, all. Can you recant store-bought? Oh, recan store-bought vegetables. Yes. So, like, if you get a really big can, like a number 10 can, you can recan them. But I believe you still have to can them for the same amount of time as if they were fresh. It would still have to be like the standard for pressure canning, I'll say, is for vegetables. For pressure canning vegetables is 90 minutes for a quart and 75 minutes for a pint, though carrots are less. I was so surprised and happy when I found out you could can a pint of carrots in only 25 minutes instead of 75. I was doing 75 minutes because every other vegetable I was looking at was that long for a pint, like green beans. And somebody asked me, "Why are you canning your carrots for so long?" Well, because they're a vegetable. You don't need to can them that long. Really? Boy, that's saves some fuel. But I will say I noticed no difference in how soft they were from the ones I was canning at 75 minutes and the ones I was canning at 25 minutes. No difference. They were still just as good. So thankfully, thankfully it still worked out. The main thing was I was wasting propane because I do all my canning outside on propane. So let's see. We also buy bulk rolled oats, wheat berries. We make our own baking powder, and we buy baking soda in 8-pound bags. So yeah, I just don't even make the baking powder anymore. I keep a jar of cream of soda. Oh, cream soda. No, I keep a jar of baking soda and a jar of cream of tartar on my counter right next to each other. And if I'm doing something where I need baking powder, I just take some out of each and put it directly in there. Because you don't want to pre-mix your baking powder and then store it. Maybe vacuum sealing it would be fine. It might last longer. The problem is once you combine your acid with your base, the cream of tartar with the baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, they can start working on each other, and then they won't be as good over time. Eventually, they'll lose their potency because now they've already been combined. And then you also want to make sure you add a drying agent. This is why aluminum is so commonly, or was, I don't think it's as common now as it was for a while there, but this is why aluminum was commonly added to baking powder, was to prevent the clumping that would be caused because of the reaction of the acid in the base. So this is why I just keep them separate and don't even bother mixing it. But you can still, I'm sure Tyler already knows this since he's making his own baking powder. You can still, instead of using aluminum, use something else if you do want to have at least a little bit of pre-blended baking powder. If I remember correctly, it's 2 parts cream of tartar to 1 part baking soda, and then you put in some kind of starch like tapioca starch, arrowroot powder. I would think potato starch wouldn't be any different. Any kind of starch is what helps keep it from clumping. It kind of helps keep it dried out so they don't, react to each other and then clump. So just a little side note there. But yeah, so I stock up on a lot of cream of tartar and baking soda because of that. I did try buying some baking soda even though I have a ton, I have a big bag I bought from Glory Bee years ago. And then I tried buying some from Azure Standard just to try it out of curiosity, see if it was any different. I do. I have video on baking powder. I have several. I have one where I was making the baking powder and mixing the ingredients, but my last one was this is what I do. I just have the cream of tartar, the baking soda, and throw in what I need. So it takes 3 teaspoons to make a tablespoon so if you're making something, let's say you're making a regular size batch of biscuits, typically you're going to need about a tablespoon of baking powder. So if it's 2 parts to 1 part, 2 parts cream of tartar to 1 part baking soda, which I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes. I don't think it's the other way around. Then you just take 2 teaspoons of your cream of tartar and 1 teaspoon of your baking soda. You know what I usually do? Because I'm always afraid I'm gonna get it backwards. I just use equal amounts of each. So, half a tablespoon of cream of tartar, half a tablespoon of baking soda, and I don't even measure it out. I just, like, pour it in my hand. I'm like, "Yeah, that looks right." And then do it again. "Yeah, it looks right." And then mix it. Works. It works. So, baking powder, 2 okay, I was right, 2 parts cream of tartar. Yeah, but just because I always forget, I just use equal amounts, and it works. Hey, Deb's back already. Good. Well, I hope everything's okay with your neighbors. I'm sure they're pretty blessed to have you as a neighbor. But yeah, I have video, but you don't have to go watch the video. It's just that simple. Cream of tartar and baking soda. That's all you need. And then if you want to mix them together, I think you add about a tablespoon of whatever starch you want to use to every cup, I think. If you want it pre-mixed. But I don't recommend long-term storage like that. Like, there's nothing wrong with pre-mixing a batch and having maybe a pint jar, which a pint's going to be about 2 cups. So you would put about 2 tablespoons of your starch. Yeah, recipes are suggestions, right, Tyler? So, okay. Yeah, Deb, I did actually go over the whole topic, but now we're just chit-chatting. Let's see, was there anything else? Any other updates? Oh, let's talk. I'll talk a little bit about gardening stuff. So, unless somebody else has, great. Now I want a biscuit. um, so it's been the last few days has been super cold. We had some nice weather for a short period of time. Things were warming up, and now it hailed last night. So doggone cold. It felt like winter again. I keep thinking it's spring. Nope. Oh, we're back to winter again. Okay. Oh, we're going into third spring now. Good. So but I still done stuff like I've moved my tomatoes out to the greenhouse. Thankfully, our greenhouse is insulated enough now that just shutting the door is keeping them from freezing in there on these cold nights we've been having. And I got a good part of my potatoes planted. But there's one more main area I like to plant them that really needs to be tilled first. The soil it's been building for years, but it hasn't been tilled in a while. And so it's real, even with the chickens spending a lot of time in there. So I got something in my eye. I'm making it worse. It just really needs to be tilled before I plant anything in there. And then there's another section I may plant potatoes in, and that's I might do a lot more potatoes than usual this year. I don't know. Maybe. Because the canning thing is the canning them dry without liquid in it has been working out really good. I've been pretty happy with that. So, and it's nice. It's so easy. Just open a jar, fry them, throw them into soup, throw them in with your stew. Yeah, it's really nice. So I could put up a lot of canned potatoes. But anyway, that second area in the main garden, the whole main garden, well, not the whole thing, but a good chunk where I grow annuals in the main garden area. I call it the main garden area because it's the biggest. That's the only reason why. It's the biggest. And it was pretty much the original garden area. That's why I keep calling it that. But then we've added, been able to expand and add this little area here, add this area there. Last year we added a new area all alongside our fence back along the kind of the side and back of the house up to where the chicken yard starts. We turned all that into garden. It used to be where we'd store some of our firewood, but we don't store it there anymore because now we're going to start it when he's doing like pre-cut firewood. He's going to store it on the little side yard here, and then basically kind of make almost a firewood fence over there. And so then we were able to turn that whole section into garden for growing raspberries, more blueberries, and then the boysenberries. And I think that's it. Mostly raspberries because they're our favorites for making treats with. Pies, turnovers, crisps, jams. Ugh, raspberries are our favorite. So we love blueberries and blackberries and the like, but it's just cool that for both of us, raspberry has always. I mean, for as long as I can remember, since I was a wee little girl, raspberry was my favorite, and it's his favorite too. When it comes to berries, at least when it comes to making stuff from berries, yum. So anyway, yeah. So yeah, we just keep expanding, keep finding ways on our little shy 1/3 acre lot to create more garden areas, and so that's been cool. But I don't remember if I was going to say anything else. So any other gardening stuff? So potatoes, got those most of those in. I have more. I still yet need to plant. I have to wait till the ground is not completely sodden so Patrick can get out there until around here that can be a while. So razzing about those berries. I am. Yeah. We live in a we live in a great area for growing that type of berry. Currants do well here, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, blackberries and raspberries especially. And then there's the thimbleberries. And there's salmon berries. Salmon berries are okay. You can make them taste okay. I made a salmon berry. Those grow wild. And they're a lot more sparse. So it can take a long time to pick enough salmon berries to do anything with. But just to eat a salmon berry, to me, I've always thought they were just bleh, not a lot of flavor. But you can make them a decent jam. So one year I picked some just to try it down at our other piece of property where salmon berries are growing wild and mixed it with some rhubarb. So that really added some flavor and it made a decent jam. It turned out pretty good, but still not my favorite. Thimbleberries are decent. Thimbleberries are kind of like a raspberry. And then, yeah, we got the red huckleberries, but those are another one that takes a long time to gather enough to do anything with. So, but I do love huckleberries, especially the red ones. But anyway, I was trying to think, was there anything else? Pretty much a lot of stuff going on out there is harvesting a few of the herbs like the dandelion, the camellia flowers. I could start harvesting some. I mean, the peppermint's coming up and a bunch of other herbs are coming up and looking good, but they're not ready to do anything with. Oh, my lovage. My lovage is exploding. I can't believe how fast it's growing. It's already like the other day I was saying it was like this tall. No, it's like this tall now. And I've already been breaking off some leaves and just eating them because it's just so healthy for you. And I like them, especially the little shoots before the leaves fully unfurl and they're still kind of reddish looking. And then the stem of it and the leaves are very tender. Oh, those are so good. And the flavor isn't as strong. I know that I don't see Gudrun in here, but she doesn't like the taste of lovage. But she would probably not mind that if she likes celery, she probably wouldn't mind the taste of the young uh lovage, as it's first starting to grow. That's pretty good. It's a much more mild. But is it lunchtime? Yeah, I'm hungry. Because here it's a quarter to 12 and I haven't eaten breakfast because typically, I'm back into doing what I normally do because I always feel best. And that is only eating in the middle of the day and not doing breakfast and dinner. I always feel better when I do that. And then I got to get myself back into fasting, for the whole day, at least once a week. I haven't done that yet. See, sounds like you are far ahead of us here. Um, is CT, is that Connecticut? I can't remember. I think so, right? We just had frost. Yeah, we keep getting really cold too, but we have a greenhouse, so that's, and we have a covered area. But at the same time, we don't typically have really harsh winters. We're usually behind a whole bunch of people. But I always feel that way because when I first started my channel, a lot of the homesteading channels were all like most of them, especially the bigger ones were in why am I trying to say Montana? Missouri and then south of Missouri. And so their seasons start a lot sooner than where we are. And, but because we don't have super harsh winters, we're ahead in some areas. I know some people were looking at my camellia flower thinking there were roses. Like, where do you live? The roses aren't blooming here yet. No, they're not blooming here yet either. But the camellia comes in, they bloom really early. So I'm getting a lot too. I don't know. I might break down and dehydrate up some more, but I don't know yet. We'll see. Because I've got plenty put up right now. And I've got all kinds of different vinegars I'll be making. So I've got the dandelion camellia flower vinegar going right now. And then I just started 2 batches of grapefruit peel vinegar that will be for a cleaning vinegar. But then I'll be having lots more other flowers coming in that will be good vinegars for my hair, my conditioning, hair rinse, hair wash, rinse, etc. And so I don't think my honeysuckle will be too far out. I think I noticed some flowers starting to form, and the nasturtiums will be a ways out. But uh because those are annuals and it's so cold and it takes a while for them to really get going here. And then the calendula. I don't usually use calendula for vinegar much because I don't get as much calendula as I do like dandelion, nasturtium, honeysuckle. So I tend to save that for my infused oil. Sometimes if I am getting a lot, then I'll do more with it, like add it to teas, maybe make a vinegar or even a soda, just to drink and enjoy. It's actually kind of tasty. Calendula soda or honeysuckle soda. You know what? I should make a honeysuckle soda this year. I've made a honeysuckle infused water just for hot days, but um I think a honeysuckle soda where it's fizzy and yummy, I think that would be good. Yeah, calendula self seeds, but it all depends on your area how well it's gonna work. I rarely get calendula plants that will come up from seed here, but so I have to start them. I have to start them in a warm area, and I think for us, it's not because of the cold, it's because of the wet. Some things just will not start well in the spring where we get some pretty heavy rains like we've been having the last couple of days. Sometimes what happens is seeds, even potatoes, if you get them in too soon, they'll just get waterlogged and basically drown and then die. Even snow peas will do that. And snow peas like the cold, but they don't like too much water. And I've had to start snow peas over on a couple of different occasions because the I thought I was past the heaviest rains and then found out I wasn't, and hardly any of my snow peas came up, so then I had to start again. So that's usually why around here it's an issue. Uh, Same thing with echinacea. Echinacea would self-seed, but not here. I have to start them inside if I want to get an echinacea plant at all. And they're perennial, but I always seem to lose an echinacea plant every year. And what else? So nasturtiums are the same way. They'll self-seed, and I will get some that will come from fallen seed with the nasturtiums, but not as many as I need. So I always start those also in a protected area. I start those outside in a protected area, and the calendula I start in the greenhouse because they need that extra boost here. Also because we have a short growing season. So your camellias are done. Roses are blooming. So you do have roses blooming there. And my jasmine started blooming. Jasmine. I wonder if that would grow here. Is jasmine, I don't know. I haven't looked into it. I just love the smell of it. Is it an annual or perennial? That would be interesting to know because I know when it comes to a lot of things, I'm finding that I really would like to go more and more with perennials, especially here because things I have to start from seed every year, like the calendula and the nasturtium, can take so long to get going because of our cooler environment and little sun. And even though I'll still keep growing nasturtiums and calendula, the thing with calendula is dandelion. Dandelion's a perennial, and they have very, very similar benefits, and I get plenty of dandelion, and I don't have to plant it every year, and I love that. I don't have to worry about it. I still like my calendula, though. I still like having that, so I still keep growing it. But if it ever came down to it and I didn't wanna have to hassle with it, I'd just fall back to the dandelion. So, pretty sure jasmine's perennial. Let's see. I've never grown it, so I wouldn't know. But anyway, it is pretty exciting, little by little, getting things kinda cleaned up and ready for things to grow. I'm hoping my fuchsia will pop back this year. I stuck it in the greenhouse this time, and I see new growth on it. Hopefully, I'll get enough flowers I can do something with. It would be cool to have it get really big and bushy again and get berries off of it and try making a jam and see what that tastes like. I was just eating the berries off the fuchsias that one year. They're, when they're really ripe, you gotta get them when they're really ripe. They're actually not a bad flavor. They're a little bland, but they're a decent flavor. I think if you added a little sugar, maybe some rhubarb or, you know, like, uh, or lemon juice or whatever to kinda add a little tartness in there, it'd probably make a pretty tasty jam. So, it's a perennial? I don't do anything with it. It just grows. Oh, perennials where it comes in every year, correct? Yeah. I always confuse myself. So, yeah, the perennial annuals annuals you have to plant every year. A perennial will come back from the root every year. And then your biennial, like the mullein, I remember thinking when I did that video about mullein years ago, I thought mullein was a perennial and it would just keep coming back. I knew it didn't flower until the second year, like echinacea, but echinacea is a perennial and it'll keep coming back, the same plant every year. So is marshmallow. Mullein, however, is like kale. It'll put out seed in the second year and it'll die. And the problem with that here is that just like with the calendula, the seed that falls does not necessarily will not necessarily start new plants because they're just too it's just too cold and our spring for it to really get of any substantial size in that first year. So, yeah. Okay, definitely perennial then. Not unless it just keeps dropping seed and comes back easily from seed and it'll just keep coming back in the same place. So, yeah. I used to work at a garden center in a perennial area. They were there. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Hollyhock. Cool. Good to know. I might have to look into that and see if it grows here. And even if it doesn't necessarily want to grow here, I can always try it because I didn't think marshmallow would grow here because I thought it grew in Africa or something when I was first reading about it. But it's a marshmallow. That means it likes a lot of water. Of course, it's going to do good here. It was tricky getting it going, though, because of our short growing season and cool springs. So that was a little tricky. But then once I got some established, I got marshmallows all. I need to dig up and get rid of a few more plants. I have people that would take them gladly here, though, that really want to grow marshmallow, and I could save them time trying to get some good marshmallow root. I can just, instead of starting it from seed, it's going to take you 2-3 years to get a good root. That's enough to use. Though I mostly use the leaves more than anything, but but I have a lot of root. But I could just dig up a whole plant and just give it to them and say, "Here," and it can sit out without being planted for a long time. And you plant it. What else is that way? It's another root thing. What am I thinking of? Horseradish. It could be all shriveled up, and you can plant it. It'll start growing. Our marshmallows like campfire. Oh, anyway. Well, I don't think I had anything else I was going to talk about. Anything pressing. Oh, I was going to show you one more thing. I can't remember if I showed you guys before. So I was talking about chickens earlier, the chicks, and getting them all moved out. This is what I used for the bedding inside their little their little brooder that we built for them in here. So much better. So I get all these store flyers. We have piles of these store flyers because the kid, Justin was working at the store, and so every time the store was cleaning out their flyers because they had new weekly flyers, he'd just bring home a big box because I was using it for packing material for the longest time. But then sales slowed down because I shut down my Etsy store, and even though we're still selling stuff, I usually have better things, packing material I can use besides that. And so now I have all these boxes of these sale flyers. And so we don't have a shredder, but if you had a shredder, it'd be a lot faster. I just have the blade. So I just cut a whole bunch of strips, and that was so much better than using the wood shavings. It kept it cleaner in there. It was easy. It was free. And um, it didn't mess up their water as much. Where the wood shavings, they'd get it in the food, get it in the water, and I was constantly having to clean out their water. With this, that just wasn't happening. So it was a lot better. There's Gudrun. See, still work to do. We'll have to do it. Hello, Kleenex. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. If you guys are, thinking about looking for some free chick bedding ideas, just if you have a shredder, it'd be a lot easier and faster. Just shred up some old newspapers, flyers, or whatever. It works really good. Or if you have the paper cutter like I have, just, takes a little extra time, but it's free. And you get to work out your arm a little bit too. See, I have a broody mama with 6 eggs. Mama is a buff. Eggs will be buff or cinnamon queen. I have a broody hen now too. Wouldn't that just figure? I'm trying to break her from her broodiness because I'm done hatching chicks out. But I should have known she would probably go broody pretty early in the season, but I wasn't sure. The only reason I say that is because last year she was from one of my first 2 hatches. And last year she was laying, and she went broody like 3 or 4 times during the season. So I'm not surprised that she was the first one to go broody, and she's a tougher one to break as well. And it's like I could have waited a little bit longer, but I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't wait and just went ahead and hatched them out myself. And I may still do another batch of chicks later in the season. And if she goes broody again at that time, maybe I'll try that. But then the other issue is I don't have a real good place because the nesting boxes are about, what are they, about 3-4 feet off the ground. And I would probably have to have a special, oh, I know where I could put her. I could put her in the little mini coop inside the coop, and she can hatch them out in there and raise them in there. Duh. That's what I can do, because obviously I'm not going to need it for chicks because by the time I plan on doing that, all my other chicks will be old enough to integrate with the rest of the chickens, and I won't need that little coop for them. So that's what I can do. So yeah, I might consider doing that. Just one of her final, later, like in the summer when she goes broody later on. Maybe that's what I'll do, is just stick her in there. Of course, I'd still have to take her out. There's a little side door. I think she could fit out. I don't know. She's pretty big. I think she's one of my heaviest birds. She is a product of course, Antonio and Claire, my remaining original Buff Orpington. And you pick her up and she's heavy. She definitely has some meat on her, but she is a good hen. She's a good layer. And I think she would be a good mama. I really do. So I would like to see how she would do. But I would still high grade the eggs and select whose eggs I want under her. So it's always easier to have mom raise them. So cute. Yeah, it's easier, but there's benefits to doing it yourself too. So, yeah, like for me, it was I wanted to get it on it and I didn't want to wait for a broody hen. I didn't want to wait until because I didn't know. I didn't know when or if I'd have any go broody as soon as I needed them to. So we put her in the old bachelor quarters coop. We're down to one rooster, Jeremiah. Old bachelor quarters. I get it. I get it. I get what you're saying. So and that's the other thing too, is I'm trying to decide when or if I should save one of the males. Because eventually I'm going to need to switch out Antonio. I really don't want to. He's such a good rooster, but anything could happen to him at any time too. And I'll have to be able to keep track of whose eggs I'm collecting from for chicks because I think what is it? So they can mate with their daughter and their granddaughter, right? The rooster, but you don't want to go into the great granddaughter. So I'll have to make sure I'm really paying close attention to who I'm collecting eggs from if I keep him. But he's so beautiful. He is such a good rooster. I mean, I was so blessed to get such a good rooster. He's never tried to attack me. Um, but he's very protective. I mean, he watches me if I'm handling any of his girls. He does watch me. He'll come over and he'll watch me, but he still doesn't attack me because he just watches. And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. Everything's fine. And he could tell he trusts me enough, but he still likes to keep an eye on me. But if there's like a hawk overhead or a cat sneaking around, he lets you know and he lets the hens know and they know that sound and they all go running. He's good at no matter even the most juicy worm that I might dig up out of the garden that I throw, he won't eat it. He'll make sure one of his girls gets it. He's so good. I love him so much. I really don't want to have to replace him, but obviously it's going to have to happen at some point. So why is it now grand chicken? Or why is it not grand chicken? Right? Grand chicken. So we have about 35 to 36 hens now. We kept Jeremiah for his temperament and how well he watches his girls. Nice. Yeah, that's, I just, I hear about like some roosters just aren't as protective or they're mean or whatever. Antonio is he's big though. I think Claire, she's been limping since last year because he's so big and she's his favorite. And she's old. And I think her hip or something in her leg, she gets around fine, but she limps. And she's never been the same since. And I think because he's so big and she's his favorite, I think he might have unintentionally hurt her. So sometimes I help her off the roost in the morning just to make it easier on her because I know she don't like getting down off of there. She'll get up there okay, but getting down's harder. So I baby her. Hey, she was my favorite. Her and Broomhilda were my two favorites out of my original 7 Buff Orpingtons, my very first chickens. Well, not counting the chickens, the bantams we had years ago. We had a rooster and a hen, and that was a long time ago that we had them more as pets. Get one little tiny egg every now and then. But the little bantam rooster, he's kind of a jerk. I say, I'm tired of dealing with this guy. One time he comes sneaking up behind me and I could hear him and I turned around and I wasn't ready. So he startled me. So I just kicked him really hard and sent him flying. And he left me alone for a little while. But I learned to always have a spray bottle of water with me. So if I was out there doing anything, because even though I wasn't growing a lot of vegetables, I was still growing flowers like daffodils and dahlias. Love dahlias. And so I'd hear him running behind me and have that squirt bottle just squirt him, and that would do the trick. But yeah, we've just finally found a new home for them. But yeah, my first real chickens for the eggs and all that. Yeah, Claire's the last remaining one. She's an old girl, and she was always one of my favorites. She was always so sweet, follow me around. Um, yeah. Anyway, it's gonna be sad when she goes, but I'm glad at least I got one hen out of her, and that's Isabella. Anyway, I really should get going. Gonna go eat some lunch, go finish editing a video, and do some other chore stuff. Maybe make ice cream today. I might do it tomorrow. I don't know. I'll probably wait till tomorrow. And whatever else it is I need to do, I know there's a list of stuff I got to get done. So anyway, my live shows, by the way, will still be kind of hit and miss each week. And I'm not sure if we'll ever get back into a regular schedule. I think we will. And so it most likely will be on Fridays, but Wednesdays are actually preferable to me. But you'll just have to wait and see. And sorry about last week. It was just with the Feast of Unleavened Bread and all, and 2 extra Sabbaths in there, and then other things we were trying to get done. It just wasn't working out. So I just said, okay, forget it. Not this week. I basically took the whole week off from making videos other than the this and that. And it was actually kind of nice. So anyway, I am going to go. So thank you everyone for coming in. Really appreciate you being here. Always enjoy our time together. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your week. Take care and God bless. Bye.